It's Cyberpunk Orion news time, and oh, it feels so good to be back making one of these. Let the journey to the next installment of the dark future from CDPR commence. In today's news episode, we're talking about new insights into multiplayer features coming to Orion, some heavy hitter veterans joining the Orion team and what that means for the Cyberpunk sequel now that the team is moving over to Unreal Engine, acquisition and console exclusivity statements from CDPR upper brass, news updates on the very exciting live-action Cyberpunk 2077 show or movie, an absolutely mind-melting mod that can give us some insight into what Orion could look like, and more, so let's dive right in. First up, I know this is going to be a slightly controversial one, but CDPR's Adam Badowski has gone on record in an interview with Routers that the studio is considering multiplayer elements for Cyberpunk 2. Now, if you guys do remember, smaller multiplayer elements were slated for 2077 post-release, which then seemed to transform into a larger project. All signs were pointing to it being a standalone multiplayer experience, but then the plug was pulled, and as we all know, CDPR went into damage control mode shortly after the launch of 2077. We talked about this quite some time ago, and there was even data mined code that showed off a potential co-op mode called Heists, alongside a more team deathmatch oriented experience. My stance on multiplayer has kind of shifted over the years, and while I think it would have been interesting to see how Heists panned out, and I hope that it's being looked into further for Orion, my personal desire for a team deathmatch styled online mode is pretty much non-existent. Now that being said, if we can get some subtle, tasteful additions to Orion, akin to games like Elden Ring or Deathloop, maybe some sort of invasion mechanic or even the aforementioned heists, I do think that this could breathe further life into Night City or whatever other locations the team decides to use in the sequel. The most recent job listings at CDPR also highlight some game mechanics potentially coming to Orion, such as crafting, which we already know exists in 2077, creating breathtaking worlds, seamless integration of dialogue scenes in gameplay, hinting at the return of the first-person dialogue scene, and expanded open-world events. Now these are pretty stock standard, and trying to glean anything beyond that is definitely reaching at this point, but hopefully there are meaningful improvements to these mechanics like crafting, as they are almost guaranteed to return. Speaking of highlights coming from new job listings for Orion, CD Projekt Red has also bolstered their existing veterans in Associate Game Director Pablo Sosko, Creative Director Igor Serginski, and Lead Quest Designer Sarah Grummer, and others with some all-star award-winning veteran talent that some further research into has me very optimistic about. These are 5 exceptionally strong additions to the Boston studio, including Dan Hernberg as executive producer, Ryan Bernard as design director, Alan Villani as engineering director, Anna Megill as a lead writer, with Alex Freed also joining the team in the writing department. Dan Hernberg has previously been the head of production at Amazon Games, head of production and product management at Panic Button, and had a 7-year stint as the lead product manager at Blizzard Entertainment, and has contributed to titles like New World, Apex Legends, and Diablo 3 amongst others. Ryan Bernard's history includes game director at Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft, and gameplay director at IO Interactive working on the Hitman games. He's worked on EverQuest 2, Warhammer Online, and if this was indeed a Beyblade reference, then I'm already a fan of his. Alan Villani is also a veteran on the top of his game and previously lent his tech expertise as VP of Technology on various Warner Bros. Games products, including technical direction on several Mortal Kombat titles. Taking a look at his LinkedIn, he was most recently working at the Molasses Flood, which is a studio under the CDPR umbrella working on the Project Sirius, a game within the Witcher universe that recently had a change of direction. He's also led engineering groups of 70+, guided the development of WB Play, and helped ship Batman Arkham Knight, Mortal Kombat X, and Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. He's been heavily involved in Mortal Kombat, from MK Deception to Deadly Alliance to Armageddon and MK vs DC, and before entering the gaming industry worked on a communication project for the Navy. The dude is no slouch at all. Moving on to the creative roles, we first have Anna Megill. With over 20 years of experience in video games, she will join as lead writer and has contributed to Control from Remedy, Dishonored: Death of the Outsider by Arcane, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora from Ubisoft, Guild Wars 2, and the upcoming Fable game. Taking a closer look at her socials, it is peppered with NDAs, so not much more we can take from here, but again, another very capable addition. Moving on to the hire that some of you guys were most excited about is Alexander Freed, a New York Times bestselling novelist of the Star Wars Alphabet Squadron trilogy, narrative designer, and comic book writer with over 15 years of game writing experience. He was a lead writer at BioWare on Star Wars: The Old Republic, and has consulted for various other studios like DICE, Obsidian, and Wizards of the Coast. In terms of awards and accolades, he had one of the best science fiction books of 2015 with Star Wars Battlefront: Twilight Company, and was a nominee for various other awards for some of his other work, like the Book of More Flesh, the Lore Book of the Broken Isles, the Star Necromancers, and Star Wars: The Old Republic. I will admit I'm not familiar with these guys and many of the games that they've contributed to, but I know a ton of you guys are well versed with these games and books, so drop a comment and let myself and your fellow Chooms know if any of these new players stand out to you. I'd love to know what you guys feel about these additions and the strengths that they bring. I do also read all my comments, so do not be shy. Before we get into the next topic, do also check out my new series Cyberpunk 101, where we dive deep into the genre greats that have helped influence not only the cyberpunk genre, but CD Projekt Red's vision for 2077. The first episode is about the iconic Ghost in the Shell franchise, so do watch that after this video. I'll give you a big smooch if you do. Moving on, let's talk about CD Projekt Red and their stances on getting acquired and exclusivity. In a recent conversation with Polish outlet PROJEKT, CEO of CD Projekt, the parent company of Red's, Adam Kaczynski went on record to mention that, quote, "We are not interested in integrating ourselves into a larger entity. Throughout our entire lives, we have worked towards the position we currently hold. We believe that in a few years, we will be even bigger and stronger." He also adds, quote, "Independence is really appealing. It's a kind of freedom." So there you guys have it. I'm sure we'll be getting some more rumors that Sony or Microsoft is going to acquire CDPR or something of the sort. While everything is within the realm of possibility, it seems very unlikely that this will happen anytime soon. I think this is a great thing for Red and the industry as a whole. With Orion and Polaris, Cyberpunk and Witcher now being developed in parallel by separate studios, and with Hadar, CDPR's new IP being built from the ground up with no existing source material to rely on, it's looking like it's going to be a bright future for those of us who enjoy their story-driven worlds. Before we move on, did you know that Phantom Liberty features a total of 20 hours and 42 minutes of new scenes? Gotta love CDPR expansions, they are some of the best pieces of content I've ever played. Now when it comes to exclusivity, CDPR's Michael Nowakowski took to Twitter to dispel another cycle of rumors, mentioning that, quote, "We love the fact you play the games we made. It's up to you to choose the playground." He does continue to remind fans of The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077 that the studio's games will continue to be platform agnostic, which is great news for The Witcher 4 and Cyberpunk 2 and other future titles like Hadar. Now speaking of Hadar, what universes could you foresee this being set in? We already have the dark future in Cyberpunk and dark fantasy in The Witcher, so something current might nest nicely into that, although it could tread a bit on Cyberpunk's toes. A space exploration game like Mass Effect or Starfield would distinguish itself from the other two and is obviously very popular these days. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Okay, on to some Cyberpunk 2077 live action project news, which is honestly something that I'm most excited about. It seems that we've gotten a small update on the release window and the time. If you guys are out of the loop, Cyberpunk 2077 and CD Projekt Red has partnered with Anonymous Content, the independent global media company known for their Emmy-winning hits like True Detective and Mr. Robot, as well as Academy Award-winning films that include The Revenant and Spotlight. As far as we know, the project is still looking for a screenwriter and will tell a brand new story set in the world of Cyberpunk 2077. So far, not much is known, but CDPR has come out to clarify the timeline and some expectations. In a recent earnings call, Chief Commercial Officer Michael Nowakowski mentioned that, quote, "We're not really discussing specifics here, but one of the obvious things that we have announced, not happening next year, but going to be developed or moved into the direction next year, is the project we have announced with Anonymous Content. So at the very earliest, expect this live action movie or show in 2025, but I reckon we won't be getting anything till around 2027, which would be poetic knowing that that would be a nice clean 50 years till the actual year 2077. Moving on, we know patch 2.11 has been out for a little bit now, but to give you the gist of the largest updates, let's go through some of the highlights. So melee finishers will now work properly, the iconic Contagion quick hack will now cause an explosion when combined with overheat, skeleton cyberware will no longer get downgraded after acquiring level 3 in your license to Chrome perk, skill shards for your max skills will no longer drop, killing NPCs who are drunk or in a brain dance will now trigger the police system, and the cyberware capacity system will now be capped at 450. Car chases have been tuned down so that they're not as frequent and don't overlap, and you can now get a message from Solomon Reed for the endings other than the tower. Crystal Coat is a big visual feature that is part of the Rayfield lineup of cars and allows you to change colors of your vehicle in an instant. Just be sure that you aren't banging up your ride too much, otherwise you'll revert back to your original color. Also, a lovely little feature here from Leszek Krupinski, the online services lead at CD Projekt Red. Out of the scope of his work, but frequently asked by someone from a Polish podcast, 2.11 also introduced subtle munching noises when eating food from your inventory. Krupinski made it his mission to add this feature and brought sound designers and the UI team together for this one, put on his producer hat and got this feature in the game. Just a little slice of game dev for you guys and a lesson that if you want something done, sometimes you just gotta take the initiative and do it yourself. Little things like these, even if they are underappreciated, they do add up. Now listen, I know we're all looking forward to Orion, which is probably at the very least a solid 5 years away, but in the interim, one particular mod has been making its rounds within the community for its photorealism. Now obviously this kind of erodes the bombastic colors and art direction of the base game, but it's also so realistic that some angles would have you fooled for real life. This mod was made possible by the features mentioned on screen and a custom photorealism reshade made by Next Gen Dreams. This one is absolutely wild and an insight into the visual fidelity that we could be seeing in games in the future. I wanted to end this news update with some fantastic interviews from the Sphere Hunter, otherwise known as Susie, with many of the main voice actors for the Edgerunners anime. I have a link in the description to go check it out, but it's great insight into the voice acting process, how they stepped into their respective roles, and some new details on the beloved anime for Cyberpunk. As always, I appreciate your time. Do check out the Cyberpunk 101 episode 1, also in the description and pinned comment, and I'll catch you guys in a future CDPR, Cyberpunk, or 101 update. Peace.